What is up? Fellas, JPS delivers here. The Cowboys are back in town. The boys are back in town. I believe we are at home. This week's Madden 06 NFL 2006. The Saints fantasy franchise against the Cowboys is actually a pretty solid team. Not like too much overall, but their defense is stellar. Their offensive line's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, they have two good tackles, decent guards. I mean, they're decent. They're all right, but you get it right there. Richard Seymour led off defense with John Henderson. Godfrey, well, I guess Sims was their first-round pick at linebacker, I guess, but they have a good secondary, a team that we're going to try to run the ball against. But to be honest with y'all, man, I just don't know what to expect at this point. I mean, the offense has been really solid on being able to run the ball, not consistently pass the ball. I mean, Aaron Brooks, I've just not been able to utilize him all too well. We're going to have to establish the running game. And, well, that's pretty much like game of the week right here. So the boys are not in town. The boys are in town in reference to Dallas, Texas. They're at home. Again, this is the stadium that Jerry technically built anyways, right? Or no? Cowboys, I don't know. But it's definitely not the new one. It's 2005 technically. Right? Or technically 2006. Technically 2006 because we are in the second season now with this Saints team. But look ahead for NFL Week 3. A ton of injuries last week. Talking about some of the games and stuff. Patriots almost win on Monday night. Then, well, we're looking at it. Thursday night game should be pretty lackluster too. It's the Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars, I believe, are 1-1. They got kind of smashed by Tennessee Titans, in which everybody and their brother thought Derrick Henry was just going to run all over them. But, you know, live in a weird world where things that you consider 100% never really happen that way, especially when everybody else is jumping on it. So hence, stop fucking listening what everybody else is thinking. Fuck everybody else, okay? Most people are wrong. And that includes myself, too. I mean, hey, most people pretty much sat there and thought Derrick Henry was going to have a sick game. Ryan Tannehill threw 4 touchdown passes, I believe 2 to Jonnu Smith. One of them was to Adam Humphries, which was just complete ballsy throw. Took a strong hit. And Tennessee made do of the game. And now they're 2-0. Definitely on their way to winning the division, I'd have to say. But Jacksonville against Miami. Miami does have solid cornerbacks, considering how bad their team is. So maybe there's a good chance that DJ Chark might not have an amazing game, even though in the past you could kind of look at it and see, let's see what Jacksonville does. I will say Jerome Robinson's in a good position for Thursday night. He had a really good game last week against Tennessee. And then, I mean, it's a way worse rush defense on Miami. So I expect a good game out of him. I expect pretty decent passing game from Miami again, but maybe a little bit more running involved for like a little bit more Matt Breida and Jordan Howard involved in this game. And I do think Miami does get their first win. I know Jacksonville with Minshew magic, but I'm just going to say, just make a slight bold prediction on a boring Thursday night game and say that Miami gets a running game going a little bit and they win against Jacksonville on the Thursday night game. Then 12 o'clock, you got the Steelers and the Texans. Two good teams, one very good team. Steelers, obviously, the very good team. They're going to be playing at home against the Texans, even though it doesn't really seem like it's too much of home field advantage, even though we pretty much saw league-wide the first expanse of fans at games. I think it was like 20,000 at the Cowboys game, in which they watched one of the worst first quarters ever, including how bad this first quarter is by our team on offense. But I don't see how, I don't know. I mean, Baltimore's defense is pretty good. I think the Steelers' defense is better. Yet you did see Deshaun Watson and Brandon Cooks start to hook up a little bit, which is nice to see because Brandon Cooks is a better wide receiver than Will Fuller. I don't think Will Fuller can deal with the coverage of number one cornerbacks. You're going to see that with the Steelers. I think you're going to see Brandon Cooks get more looks and whatnot. I think David Johnson's going to get more looks. I mean, they got to get David Johnson involved. Fuck, you just traded for this dude. You just traded away DeAndre Hopkins for this dude. Why the fuck would you not use that man if you were going to trade away the number one targeted wide receiver in all of football? I don't know. Fucking beats me. I think the Steelers win. It's going to be a pretty good game overall, but I think the Steelers win that one. Then you got the Bears and the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to pretty much, I mean, what? Falcons are 0-2. I say Falcons. If they're underdogs in this game, I'd have to say Falcons all the way in this one. You might as well bet all your fucking money on the Falcons. They're at home. They're against the Chicago Bears. Let's see if they're the favorites. Oh, wow. Atlanta is the favorite by 3.5 points. That's a little interesting. Now that makes me feel a little bit weirder. I don't know. We'll have to see if that spread grows or if it gets a little bit lower throughout the week, considering Atlanta's defense is really not that good at all, even though they did look impressive with forcing fumbles against Dallas. But, hey, I mean, a lot of teams can play pretty good one quarter of ball, but not a complete game. But I think Chicago, though, is set up well for Allen Robinson. We said that last week, and it didn't happen. So if this is the week to get it right, if anything, it's Atlanta's defense. I still think Atlanta wins this game. And then, talking about the next game, Rams and Bills. Now, that's a really weird game. Overall, Bills have better defense, in my opinion, than the Rams. But, however, the Rams do have a shutdown corner of their own, Jalen Ramsey. And, I mean, the Rams also have one of the most disruptive forces in NFL history, and Aaron Donald out of Pittsburgh. It is in Buffalo. I don't know if they're going to have fans there or whatnot. But Josh Allen looks impressive. We'll see how those wide receivers, Stefon Diggs and John Brown, behave with Jalen Ramsey and company covering them. But in this game, I think the Rams beat the Bills. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than you would think. And I think the Rams probably win 13-10 or maybe 17-14. I don't know, something along those lines. I just don't think both teams are going to get to 20 points in that game. And then, when looking at next, later on, we got Philly at home against Cincinnati. Philly is a game, Philly came in, just lost again, and this time losing to the Rams, 0-2 teams. In all honesty, I think Philly's heavily favored, 6-point favorites. It's still a very heavy favorite. I just think if it's anything, it's another case for Chicago. Chicago might be 2-0, but at the same time, it's definitely, being 0-2, Philly's going to have to be in a spot to where it's going to have to be the week that their offense really gets things going. And I know you saw Miles Sanders get over 100 yards and a touchdown last week. He did fumble the ball, however, which has always been a struggle of his coming out of Penn State. So we'll just have to see. This is, like I said, just with the Falcons defense, Chicago and whatnot, this is the same situation, except unfortunately they're 0-2 while they're sitting there. At least Chicago's 2-0, sitting there saying, oh, hey, maybe we can do something, if something messes up this week against Atlanta, because Mitchell Trubisky can't do well this week against Atlanta. Doesn't really look too bright. You might be 9-7 because you're not going to beat a good team to a certain extent. If you can't beat Atlanta or at least score a decent amount of points against Atlanta, it's not going to look good for Mr. Bitch of a Mitch on that one. And then, but I do think Philly's going to win the game. Washington football team against the Browns. Cleveland is heavily favored, and Nick Chubb usually really does well in games that they're heavily favored. But at the same time, though, wouldn't it be the very, very much like the Browns against Washington? Because Washington's got a strong up front team. And we saw what Washington did to Philly. And the Cleveland Browns, even with injured Philly, are still not as good as the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion. Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. And I think Washington and Ron Rivera are going to make Baker Mayfield beat them. I don't think Nick Chubb is going to run for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns again. I could put right here the Cleveland Cleveland Browns on upset watch for this week. I thought Atlanta was going to be underdogs at home, but hey, the bettors are smart. They're not going to be stupid. Chicago's overrated, so I could see why Atlanta is favored, even 0-2. And then, pretty much, I think Washington that's just my choice for an upset, is Washington to beat the Cleveland Browns, or at least for sure cover that spread of 7. Titans and Vikings. Okay, we talked about last week with Ryan Tannehill getting the 4 touchdowns out of nowhere. I mean, Ryan Tannehill has been impressive for the past season and a half. It doesn't surprise me that he was able to do that against Jacksonville. Now that we're looking at it with Derrick Henry, this is the week to feel good about Derrick Henry, especially if you're going to do daily fantasy. We saw what Aaron Jones was able to do. Even with so many passes being thrown by Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones was still able to get 70, 80 yards. I think it was like 90 total yards at least, and a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, or might have been a catch. But Minnesota's not the team they used to be. I think Derrick Henry is going to be a Derrick Henry week. We might see Derrick Henry run to almost 200 yards. That's another bold prediction on that one. We'll talk more about it in the next video. As always, fellas, take it easy and see you next time.